new dawn for River State, will you say so?
Absolutely. I just came out from a praise and worship section with my priest now who came to perform some homily for me this morning. Because people are worried about Mr. President declaring state of emergency in River State. I can tell you, Mr. Nekwe, that since the inception of this administration, since the inception of the Governor Siminalayi Fubara administration, there has been a state of emergency in River State. What happened a few days ago was that the president, invoking his powers under Section 305 of the Constitution, merely declared the state of emergency by appointing for us a sole administrator. We have been under siege in this state since Governor Fubara became governor. So it is nothing new. We are used to it.
And the administrator has identified peace and stability as his priority.
Absolutely. The Bible says pursue peace at all costs. So that is what he's done. And that is exactly the reason why he was brought. Because the center was no longer about holding in River State. You saw people, very highly placed government officials, become content creators. People who had a penchant of disregarding decisions of court. I'm taught that you are enjoined to obey the decision of any court of competent jurisdiction. It is not that it must get to Supreme Court before you obey. We saw abuse of power. In fact, the Supreme Court justices had described the former governor of River State in very strong terms. At some point, a despot who would not want another arm of government to exist, who would willfully move into the legislature and mow it down, and nothing happens. And the good thing also
is he a former governor or a suspended governor?
He's not the one now. I don't know what difference that makes. He's not the one there now. You just introduced retired Admiral Abbas. So whether former or not former, he's not the one now. That is what I understand. So the suspended governor, not to give that to you. So we saw him willfully mow down an arm of government and carry on the business of state with 3 legislators that will pass an appropriation law for him. He signs it in the morning at 10 a.m. and it is brought back to him by 4 p.m. Same day. No screening, no interrogation of the departments and agencies of government by commissioners and so on and so forth. And the Supreme Court did say that there was no governance in River State because somebody was given an opportunity that, of course, overwhelmed him.
Would you say the administrator, a former chief of naval staff, is a round peg in a round hole as far as that responsibility is concerned?
Absolutely. You've seen his CV. He's a man of detail. For the past 35 years, he gave his all in service of the nation, and he rose to become the chief of the naval staff and meritoriously retired from service. It's about administration. His will be easier because he's not going to be playing politics. His is to ensure that no part of this state goes up in flames. He's going to, that is why it is an emergency rule. He's going to do things that are outside the normal to ensure that the rule of law is obeyed in River State and that people do not take laws into their hands. That is why he's been brought. If within this period, like the people of Nigeria, through their representatives in the House of Reps, did yesterday, if the gladiators in this political dispute can make up tomorrow, they will report back to Mr. President when the young lady who who coined that amendment to the resolution by Nigerians in the House of Representatives. So it behoves on the people of Rivers State to ensure that all the warring parties are brought to a table. But when you have elders who make statements like the one you just showed before you brought me in, it means it only shows that people have taken sides dangerously. Elders will refuse to become elders. Elders will sue for peace after spitting fire and brimstone. Then you come and you begin to pontificate peace. It is not possible. Elder statements rather, are usually neutral when there is a dispute among their children, not to make statements that will offend other people who rolled on the floor and who didn't roll on the floor. Rolling on the floor, it is not a pathway to becoming governor of Rivers State. Let's even assume, though not concede, those were things that happened. The person who became governor now, that they are all supporting, do they know how many floors he rolled on? Whether he even went into a ditch? I don't think those are the things we should do. What we should be doing now is to calm frayed nerves. This is where they have led that young man to. Today, it will go down in history. His children will read it, what the Supreme Court have described their father. And I'm sure that he's all by himself now. All of those gladiators who used to shout for him, you are governor, you better use your strength and so on. Nobody. The Constitution allows for separation of powers, and no arm of government can do it alone. That is why A.V. Dicey, in his book, Separation of Power, coined it copiously. There is no absolute separation of power. So that is where we are. But Mr. Amechi, I'd like to remind you how this whole imbroglio started in Rivers State. You know, it is
maybe we'll do that much later. But let's see how you expect the administrator to set out his responsibilities. Is it reconciliation? Should he deal with security first, or what should be his priorities?
His priority should be security. Ensure that no part of the state goes up in flame. Ensure that the threats of the suspended governor do not come to light. Imagine a situation where a governor would charge street urchins to be on standby. That very soon he will give the instruction and that he will lead from the front. These are statements unbecoming of a governor of a state. But I take solace in the fact that this governor had told us ab initio that he's not prepared for this office. He did say it on the day of his primaries. He said he should have been informed 20 years ago so that he will learn the ropes of how to become governor. So most times I don't find myself blaming him. If a young man who wants to learn how to drive is not given a Bentley, anybody who wants to learn how to drive is usually given a rickety Beetle, so that all of those other parts, the clutch, the headlights, and so on, you can manage to forego, but not, of course, with a Bentley. So we had a situation in Rivers State where we gave a learner driver a Mercedes-Benz, and this is the result of it. 36 out of 36 states in the federation, it is only in Rivers State that for the past going to 2 years now, we've now had peace.
Okay, now going back to the administrator, what structures what interest groups should he reach out to? The president talked about vandalism of critical infrastructure. It should also be his major responsibility. He has to rely on conventional security agencies. You have the private security contractors also complementing. But what do you expect the administrator, what additional value should he bring in this regard?
Mr. Anekwe, recall that this was the chief of naval staff, and he controlled the Navy, whose primary responsibility was to ensure that critical infrastructure, deep shore and offshore, were protected, and his men were deployed to ensure that the Nigerians, our seas are protected. And it is nothing new. We are not preaching to a choir. He's already saddled. He knows what to do. But like you said, we are just about suggesting a roadmap. And he has set forth at dawn, he has set forth the right foot by calling for briefing from security officials who are already on ground in the state. We do not know what they know, right? We are not, I am not privileged to some security information that they have. So he has called for briefing, he's been briefed, and being a military man at that level, at the upper echelon, he knows how to go about it. Once that is done, he cannot be meeting with critical stakeholders if he doesn't ensure a peaceful atmosphere. But so far, in Rivers State, in Port Harcourt and other parts of the state, it's as if nothing happened. Because they've been used to it. People are going about their normal businesses. All of those stories of Armageddon falling and so on, have all disappeared because the law has spoken. And I did remember when my principal said that when the law speaks, ethnicity will disappear, Asawada will disappear. And through to time, like Nostradamus, who saw tomorrow, all of those jingoisms have all gone. The state is moving on. People are tired of everyday one story and so on. And I also commend Mr. President for releasing the allocation of the state to the administrator, who will in turn now come and pay pensioners and civil servants. And once that happens, the tension will simmer down. Then he can now profile a roadmap on how to engage the political gladiators.
Yes, the engagement of political gladiators should be important here.
Absolutely.
And how he carries out that engagement will be crucial. What should you advise him in this regard?
Well, Mr. Nekwe, you and I'd like to blow a muted trumpet because in this aspect, because I'm also a principal party in the entire scenario. So I wouldn't want to begin to profile any solution on how we should go about it, just in case it coincides with what I say here, so that Nigerians will not take me up and say that, oh, we have given the man a script. I'm an unrepentant supporter of the Minister of the FCT. So I would not want to give the man a roadmap.
You have the right to your opinion as a citizen, as a political leader.
We are in a country.
In Rivers State.
Dr. Anekwe, right? I would be right to say Dr. Anekwe. Good. Because I knew when you were pursuing your PhD. So I wouldn't, these days people do not support what is right. They support who they love. So I would want to plead with you to spare me from answering that question. I would not want to give a roadmap to the administration, so that I'm not misunderstood. They will say, oh, the minister has given him a roadmap to come and lead the state.
Okay. He needs support, clearly, the administrator, from all and sundry. And the more he gets this support from all spectrum in Rivers State, the better for him and for the state.
Yeah, Dr. Adekwe, I agree with you. And I thought you would have asked why I appear in black. Coincidentally, you are also wearing a black, because this shouldn't happen in our state. Okay? It shouldn't have gotten to this level. It shouldn't. But we must be careful. We must be careful. When the book of Ecclesiastes 10:16, what it said, we have to be wary. Woe to the city whose kings are children and whose princes marry in the morning. This is an eye-opener for political gladiators across the Federation. We must be mindful of people who hand power to. People must be prepared. Preparedness must meet opportunity. So this thing of railroading people, unprepared people to occupy public offices has to be re-examined. So you recall that the 27 members of the House of Assembly, led by the Right to the Honorable Martins Chika Mewule, had pledged to support the administrator in any way necessary. This is a good one, coming from the other party to the dispute, in the dispute. And I was very, very touched when I read the release of Mr. Speaker. And I said, well, yeah, this is the right way to go. For citizens, like I have said, what is important now is that governance must run. Civil servants must be paid. Once they are paid, pensioners, our aged parents, who most times survive on drugs and other medications, will also have money to be paid. I was really worried when the allocation was seized. And of course, the Supreme Court only interpreted the law, because you do not spend public funds without appropriation. That is prima facie corruption. You don't need to begin to lead evidence. So if this is done, salaries paid, those who do business with government paid, and so on, then it will be a step forward for him to begin to engage the traditional rulers and youth organizations and so on and so forth before getting to the political gladiators. But I can assure you, Dr. Anekwe, that the state is calm. The state is calm. The president has rid us of this pestilence. It was becoming very, very disturbing. And when I hear people say, oh, the president has no constitutional right. Oh, why did the president do this? You know, the same people, when the president intervened in this dispute, so, oh, he has no right. People came back here and advised all kinds of subterranean moves were made. People sued Mr. President. So the president now has invoked his powers as given to him in the Constitution, and people are still shouting. So I don't know what anybody would have expected the president to do, given this situation.
Okay. Some elders, eminent elders across the country, to be set up to further mediate. What are your expectations?
Well, we will await. We will, provided they are not tainted elders, Dr. Anekwe. That is the problem. It is difficult to really know who is an elder. Formerly now, I thought that elders were those who speak truth to power. But these days, it does appear that elders have also assumed the status of anywhere beleface. So people are unable to say the truth. Call your children to order and give good advice. But you see them dangerously take sides, and they begin to spew all kinds of speech on the other party. You cannot take sides, then at the same time want to mediate. So I think maybe Mr. President will bring elders from outside the state, because I doubt if there's any elder left here.
What of within the South region?
Maybe after all, the administrator I hear is from Cross River State. So if we import people, elders who are not tainted from Edo, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, that will not Bayelsa, because we saw Bayelsa youths come out to block the east-west road. So you see, these are also ways of taking sides. So, and also Ondo, if it brings people from all of these places who can also stay and command the respect of the gladiators. You know, on a peace table, both parties must command the respect of the mediator. I hold various degrees in peace and conflict resolution, and this is one of our this is one area of my research when I talked about the traditional methods of conflict resolution in Rwanda using the Gakacha traditional method. So, but for the fact that I am also involved, this would have been an opportunity for me to show Nigerians my skill in peace and conflict resolution.
Let's talk about the role to be played from the Abuja end. Initially, the president talked about Federal Executive Council approving policies, oversighting, but the National Assembly, in authorizing and affirming the declaration of state of emergency, said we are the ones to take over the legislative functions of Rivers State and will be the ones to oversight. Your response?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was very happy when I saw the representative who moved that amendment on the floor of the House of Representatives. Legislative business lies with the legislature. So that is what it should be, and that is probably why Mr. President did not also raise any issue, but rather commended the National Assembly for the assiduity with which they approved his proclamation of the state of emergency. Absolutely, because recall that when it becomes inevitable for lawmaking to take place in the states, the National Assembly takes over the legislative business of the State Assembly, to which the House of Representatives. You recall that sometime in 2013, we had issues in the Rivers State House of Assembly where I was House Leader. There were issues that led us to a point where the House of Representatives, under the leadership of the Right Honorable Aminu Tambuwal and Emeka Ihedioha, took over the legislative business of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Well, that is what it should be.
So this is not the first time Rivers State House of Assembly
No, this is not.
Its powers to legislate.
Yeah, when we have issues like this, this is rivers of possibilities.
You came to the front burner during that period. One of our viewers on our X handle was asking whether you were not the one that played an active.
I am.
Very active role. You understand what you meant?
Reply that viewer. Reply to the viewer that it is me. Most regrettably, though.
And that is you could have done otherwise if now.
Absolutely. We could have resolved it the other way. But I purged myself of those iniquities.
Okay. You expect the National Assembly to be quick and decisive in dealing with legislative matters to be presented before you from Rivers State, the same way they dealt with this declaration of state of emergency ratification?
Absolutely. The state of emergency is sui generis, as it were. The administrator will be approaching them if need be. Okay? So when the administrator approaches them, and I was happy when the Senate President said a special committee of the National Assembly will be set up. So that will make it will make them look at issues from Rivers State expeditiously.
And the National Assembly also said the president can end the state of emergency in less than 6 months if he believes, in his opinion, the necessary conditions have been met.